Welcome to the Truth to You Daily Podcast, a podcast designed for teenagers who want to learn more about God's Word and how it impacts our daily lives. Journey with us as we set out to explore God's timeless truth one day at a time. Hello and welcome back to the Truth to You podcast. This is our Saturday sit down, and in our special edition, we're calling Everything in Between. And of course, that means that I have with me here the one and only Christina Devane, also known as my wife.
Yes, so great to be here again for episode number 2.
Yes, and we are coming to you from the Truth to You studios that happens to move depending on where we want to record, right?
Yes, but mostly just in our basement.
That's right. Okay.
Move around the basement.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get right into our show for today, and it's going to start off with our first segment, which is what's been going on this past week.
Well, it's been a pretty big week. I'll actually let you say the first thing that happened. Okay. We all know.
All right.
Really big deal.
And that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are world champs.
Woo-hoo!
Won the Super Bowl. Did you doubt them? I hope you didn't, because they did it, and they did it emphatically. It was not just a little win.
They did.
It was a big win. I have to admit that I was a little bit nervous. I was a lot nervous. And
most everybody thought it was going to go the other way.
Yeah, it's true. There was a lot of noise out there. People that were calling for a Chiefs win, and those of you in the youth group who are Chiefs supporters, you can't win them all, But
or 2 in a row. Sorry.
Right, but all in all, it was a good game. I guess if you're a Bucs fan, it was a good game. I think if I wouldn't have been a Bucs fan, it would have been a little boring.
It did. They kind of ran away with it a little bit, so
yeah, and
it wasn't as competitive.
I think there were probably some who changed the channel and just looked for something else to watch.
I heard of some people who just stopped watching at halftime because it was like, well,
yeah,
there's not much.
Yeah,
would you do? You never know, but
and you don't. I mean, and I wouldn't put anything past Mahomes. He's such a talented player that he certainly could have, come back, but defense did well, and world champs, and I'm already thinking about next year.
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe you're looking at the next football dynasty in Tampa. How many can we win
never know.
Before Brady retires?
Yes.
I've heard that he's been practicing throwing from a wheelchair just in case we get to that point, but who knows? Okay, so that was the big thing that's been going on this week, and what about you? Is there anything that...
We did have some more snow, so it's actually pretty unusual the amount of snow we've gotten in the past couple of weeks for that much in the days. Other than that, I did have some just really specific answers to prayer that were just really neat. Some sort of small things you don't really tell anybody, but one was a really big one that's been like 8 years. So that was very special.
Indeed. Had the crown molding going on, I guess that was that Saturday? Last Saturday?
It seems like a long time ago.
Stuff runs together. I forget now. But anyway, next phase of the molding. The molding is actually all in place, which is great. And now it's just covering up all the bad cuts that I made in the corners and the nail holes, and a little compound, some caulking really goes a long way. And a lot of the teenage guys that are listening, if you haven't found that out yet in your life, you will find that out in the coming years. So stay close to compound and caulk. It'll be your friend for sure.
That and paint that covers up a lot of.
Yeah, it really does. So anyway, tricks of the trade there. So that's what's been going on in the Devane house. Let's go next to our sharing of a biblical truth or a quote that has helped us recently. You let me go first last time. I'll let you go first this time.
So I've been doing some study in Proverbs, and a verse that comes up a lot is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is talked about quite a bit, and I've heard this before, but just some more thinking on it this week, how the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and so then the opposite of that is the fear of man is the beginning of foolishness. And just really thinking how that really plays out in our life. Yes, we should reverence, honor the Lord, have the right respect for him. If we have him as our priority, that is the beginning of wisdom. Yet when we put priority on man, what they think, our fear of man, that's actually the beginning of foolishness. And how much we can tend to live in that realm of being the fool and not even realizing it. And so that's just been some of my thoughts this week. Yeah,
that's a great thought. And I've got a quote here. I tend to be heavy on the quote side, I guess, but just a really neat thought I've been thinking about this week, and it comes from a very special person, but I'll give you the quote first, and that is, don't be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. And I know that you probably know who said that. Do you know who said that?
I gotta think for 1 second.
Okay.
I'm a slow thinker.
Okay.
Is it Corrie ten Boom?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I can attest the fact that she's not cheating and looking on my notes over here.
Yes,
okay.
I have not reviewed.
Special lady. She was a Dutch Christian watchmaker. Family helped Jews escape from the clutches of the Nazis, and her and her sister would be taken to a concentration camp, and really an amazing story. But she, when she got out, she wrote quite a bit about her experience, and one of the things that she said was that she just had to trust God every day for her future. And so this quote it's powerful because of the person it comes from, but it's also powerful because it's actually Bible truth. And let me give it one more time. Don't be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. We can put anything in his hands and trust that he's going to give us his best if we're seeking him. So that's the thought. All right. Well, let's go on to our random realizations. And this is just complete randomness about our lives. But what are you realizing these days about yourself?
So this actually was a little bit of feedback from last week's podcast. But I can tend to talk slow when I'm thinking through stuff. So I'm actually working on that. But I guess I didn't realize that I can be a slow processor, and I don't think super fast on my feet all the time. So sometimes I'm trying to discuss something with you and get it out, and I can tell you're sitting there what did you just say it? So anyway.
Yeah, I hope I'm not irritating in that way.
No, it just shows that I can be slow processor. The other thing though, actually, is you can listen to podcasts at 1.5 or 2 times the speed. So if you think I talk too slow, just speed it up.
Yeah.
And I'll talk real fast.
But I'm going to be really honest. I'm a little offended when somebody tells me that they listen at 3 times the speed. Because that's a little cue to myself that I must really talk slow. But I probably shouldn't have taken offense at that, because somebody's just looking to maximize their time.
No, they are, because I know people who listen to audiobooks on 2.5, but I can't even listen that fast. Yeah. I tried, and I felt on edge, agitated, and then they did this, and then blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It was too much. I felt like I had to be rushing around the house.
Right.
It was not relaxing.
All right. Realization about myself. I enjoy eating with smaller utensils. I think when you're a kid, to receive a big fork, it's a special thing. You're like, one day I'm going to use the big person fork, and it's going to be a really great thing. And you use it, and you think, I am a big person because I'm using a big person fork. And it's like you're getting older, and you're taking steps towards adulthood and all of that. But I have recently noticed that I don't like a big fork.
Really?
And it's partially, I guess I haven't told you this.
No, this is
that's
news.
Partly because I, like a good husband, I take what's given to me. And I don't say anything about it. But the truth is, I have a small mouth.
Actually, that is true.
The dentist just did not like working on me.
They have a hard time.
They couldn't get in there. And it was frustrating for all of us, but I digress. So the point is, I enjoy, even though I'm a big person, an adult, I don't enjoy having a big fork. And if I have a choice, I will take that smaller fork. I'm not talking about a baby fork, okay? I'm not talking about that, all right? I'm talking about just the smaller
size.
Yeah, the smaller size fork. And that works for me. Much more control. I find that when I'm dealing with a larger fork,
there's too much room.
Stuff starts to end up not in my mouth and in other places, and so.
Well,
anyway,
I'll tell our children to now set the table differently.
Okay.
This has been a great realization.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? I may realize that I don't want the smaller one after a while, so we'll see. All right. Let's go on and let's talk about what we're reading these days. It's been a couple of weeks since we had our everything in between, talking about reading, all of that good stuff. So what are you reading?
So I'm reading a parenting book, which I have been actually for a little while. It's a rather big one that's been sort of daunting. Sometimes you don't read a book just because it looks big. Anyway, just a very interesting quote that I thought is really applicable to everybody. And they were actually quoting somebody else, but the quote is, "This is God's universe, and he does things his way. Now, you may have a better way of doing things, but then again, you don't have a universe." And it was very like, ooh, everybody has an opinion,
right?
But everybody's not God, and they don't have the wisdom that God has. So just actually kind of goes along with what I shared about the fear of the Lord, but how much, doing things his way is the right way, and he created things that way for a reason.
That's a great thought. I've continued reading. I'm not done with it yet, although I'm trying to get done. This book that I've been reading concerning just having the proper mindset, and a lot of great things in there. And I was reminded of a principle that actually relates to another book that I read several years ago. It was called From Good to Great. And the idea of it was the idea of just being a great leader, but a leader that is serving others, not being served. And this book, Good to Great, it takes large companies that are based all around the world, and he simply compared what separated the good companies from the great companies, and in a lot of situations there were leaders at the top who were serving their people instead of just sitting back and enjoying the perks of leadership or just being served themselves. So I thought that was so good. Obviously for Christians, that's a Bible principle anyway. We understand that we ought to be serving others and not focused on ourselves. But whether you're in a position of Christian leadership, or you're in a position of leadership in a business or a doctor's office, or whatever God has you doing in the future, don't look to be served. Look to serve other people. Ultimately, it's going to create a culture and environment that will have a successful outcome. So I just thought that was really neat and a great reminder.
That is. There will always be opportunities to serve too. Sometimes we just have to look for it, but
very true. All right, well let's close things out with our topic of the day, and we'll get these folks out of here and they can enjoy the rest of their Saturday. So what's our topic today?
We are talking about assumptions.
Oh, I think I've made a few of those in my time.
Yes, we all make assumptions, and I guess I'm learning that, people make assumptions about you that aren't true. And so in reality, we could all be walking around believing things about other people and assuming things that aren't really true.
Right. Limited observation, and then you just you come to a conclusion about somebody else. Yeah.
So what are some assumptions that people have thought about you?
I think that, and this is probably true with any leader, but we tend to, especially public speakers, we tend to look at people that leaders that are up in front of other people, and we just naturally assume that they have always enjoyed doing that. For me personally, that is not the case. In fact, one of the reasons that I put off surrendering to preach was because I just did not think I was capable of doing it. To stand up, to handle the Word of God, and to instruct and teach other people about it, that thought made me so nervous that I could barely come to terms with it. And so I put off surrendering to preach for a while. Also in regards to singing in front of people, it was something that was a desire that in my heart, but when I did it the first couple of times, I had some failure experiences just because out of sheer nervousness, and it was just a difficult thing. And so working through some of that, am I at a point now where I don't even think about being nervous? Absolutely not. No, I mean, I get nervous when I get up to preach. I get nervous when I get up to sing, and I don't know that will ever leave me, but I would say that it's better. And it causes me to depend on the Lord a whole lot more. Yeah. So I guess the assumption that maybe some people could make with me is that, well, when Brother Scott gets up and sings a song, well, that's just Brother Scott and he doesn't get nervous. Or if he preaches, that's just what he does. He doesn't get nervous. But that's not true. It's human nature, and those are things that we all have to work through.
Yeah. I would say mine are similar, and part of it was somebody told me recently, but it was that you teach piano, so you probably always wanted to do that. Where in high school, the majority of my high school career, that was the last thing I wanted to do. And I was actually, people would ask me like, oh, don't you want to teach piano? And I'd be like, oh no, I'm never doing that. So it's a little more comical because I've been doing that ever since we got married. But the other thing, even with that, is that, I do play the piano, so, you probably don't have to practice because you've been playing for, over 20 years, whatever. And, no, I actually have to practice a lot sometimes. Mm-hmm. And there's certain songs I will work on for months. And, even getting a song ready for a certain Sunday can take hours and hours during the week. So just some things to think about of just assumptions, how we can assume things that are not always true.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I think we've given the teenagers some things to maybe consider and hopefully some fun things to laugh at along the way. And if the podcast has been a blessing to you, feel free to share it with somebody else. Other than that, we're going to get out of here and let you go enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. And who knows, a couple weeks from now, we may get together on our third installment of everything in between.
And it will be a very exciting one, I have to say.
All right.